Well, I can hear you now on my phone, but I can't hear you on screen. That's why I'm calling. Just a friendly FYI. Yeah.
Doggone it, RJ.
Okay, that's more gooder. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole minute. I got to hang up on you if you didn't. I don't know. Doggone it. Well, that's a great start. Anyway, I woke, smoked, cleared my throat, and tried to ascertain if I was possibly dreaming. I'm going to look up the word pike because I've told the teacher I would write a paper about a famous person from the past, Zebulon Pike. The man, a mountain, a top, or a peak. Pikes Peak is near the city of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Pike is a weapon, pike is a fish, a piker is a suspect type of person. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. And if you mess with me, you got to mess with my big brother. Thanks for having my back, RJ. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, we're just about a full week into April now.
Oh, well, we were talking, and then all of a sudden, I forgot to check my flashing light, and it was flashing, so nobody was hearing me. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm knowing how to share the screen. At least I've done that a couple of times. It's not always perfect, but there it is. Look, did he show the thing? Man, I'm showing the thing. I showed that thing. There's a lot of pictures to go over, RJ. I don't even know. We're going to have to go over them a bit by bit. Look, I saved something there. Let's see what that is. James requested council waive a fee of $34,500 for the Little Learners Childhood Center. Council was unanimous in their approval to waive the $34,500 fee. This happened Friday in my local paper. Look, RJ, I subscribed to the local paper.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
where did the local paper go? But anyway, this is, I can't scroll up because this is the picture, not the paper. This is that wheel on a roof that they say, look, there's proof that the Bible is, Israel is right there by where they claim fake Israel is today. And that's a chariot wheel on the bottom of the Red Sea that's on the roof of something near there in a salt mine or something. It's not chariot wheel. Here's a real mystery. I don't know anything about that. It's this thing, man. There's so many mysterious artifacts. Just and they give 2 minutes, and then there's another one. 50 more artifacts that science can't explain, and they just happen so fast that one stuck out at me. That Roanoke, James White. The White House is named after James White. There he is. Everybody, this picture is obviously a much bigger part of a map where on the Wikipedia they go, look, it's Roanoke, Virginia. Dare you to find out what Croatan means on that tree. But in the meantime, they had to leave in some. So these Native Americans, this is where the guys that do the fishing, I don't know if they rotate crops, but they catch fish here and probably trade it to here. where the people from Jamestown really went. It was supposed to be 50 miles inland. The whole, oh, they were just stranded, where'd they go? That's all a big, what do they call that? A lie. It's a lie. Hidden Truth finally put out another video and it kicks the butt. See that one, RJ? Just put
I
it out.
haven't.
He just put it out last night. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I will hope to catch it soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't email it to you because I figured no way you're going to miss it. You know.
Well, it hasn't come up on my algorithm as of yet, and I haven't searched for
Well,
it.
it was 10 o'clock last night, I think, so it'd be 11 your time. If the truth about the crash had gotten out in 1985, he says it would have exposed the Iran-Contra scandal 1 year before it became public. The Challenger explosion and the Iran-Contra. But there was also this Gander thing where 266 soldiers got killed flying out of Newfoundland, Canada. And they thought it was a conspiracy then. It still is now, but at least it delayed the Iran-Contra scandal for a year because of the 1983 Boland Amendment prohibited the use of government funds to topple the Sandinista governments. I cannot believe I was ass deep in that, RJ. It's kind of like one of those things like from being involved with the PADS and how that turned into GPS, and the P stands for parallel, then azimuth direction system. I was ass deep in that. 1 month out of every 3 months, I was in the field testing that for 6 months with my good friend Lance Peterson, Sergeant Gavin, a couple other guys.
Yeah, that would one of them.
And then,
things
and then I moved
requires retrospect in order to truly understand.
Right. I no way could I have went from being a surveyor and then right into Christian Liberty Academy satellite schools, the largest homeschool in the world, and start raising money to help. As it turns out, Ronald Reagan was not really the good guy that I thought he was.
Yeah.
Turns out that in 1985, Robert McFarlane undertook the sale of anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles to Iran. I wonder if they could reverse engineer them. Anyway, he did it in the mistaken belief that such a sale would secure the release of American hostages that America never negotiates for. This and several subsequent weapon sales by Ronald Reagan to Iran in 1986 directly contradicted the U.S. government's publicly. Who cares? They did it. Everybody knew. What are you going to do about it? That's basically was their attitude. Hey, look, the mountains are turning to bricks, the retard said. This never gets old to me.
You mean more evidence being revealed?
Yeah. My goodness, look at that. Whatever General Augusto Pinochet military dictatorship was up to, everything revolves around September 11th to me, RJ.
Yeah.
I can't get away from it. I was able to witness to some very influential Hispanic young couple about how this, since it is a stone, is the fossil of a titan. And although it looks like the vertebrae of a mammal, and science calls it the vertebrae of a mammoth, that doesn't mean anything to me. And then I got into like, there's no atomic weapons. I was on fire. They said this was a tooth. I said it's a rib cage. They don't know nothing about titans. I was in a mood. We had the house clean. Everything was good. I was witnessing with a clean house, RJ. This is some of the things that hidden truth was kind of led me to, and I thought was kind of. I'll show some pictures because that's always cool. I picked this one because this makes no sense that is a U, because we know Carnegie made all the other ones in the world where they were Public. What the heck's going on here in Dayton? I just want to know. I have a right to know. Maybe I
Yeah,
do.
it probably wasn't a typo error.
RJ, this whole thing about, we've gone over the Titans and the Elohims and the rebellion and the council in heaven, blah, blah, blah. But have we ever stopped and said, okay, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed? Because a lot of time the poor and the oppressed right now, it's kind of like, hey, well, what the hell are you doing living on the street, you meth head, alcohol addicted bitch? What are you doing showing your panties on the street and shit like that? Well, how do we tell the difference between afflicted and needy? I mean, a lot of these people, I don't think they meant to get hooked on that OxyContin when that one company started marketing it heroin to 25 to 40-year-old women. What the hell? That still left them destitute and afflicted, and their children too. So how do we deal? What does that mean? I mean, how are we going to welfare?
Well, I mean, the difference between lifestyle choices and consequences of something that ends up in a similar
what I mean.
as far as symptoms, but yeah, it's part of the normalization of certain portions of society that have been
Well, I mean that pretty
taken
soon
advantage of, and
we are going to have to make some hard decisions, RJ. You got that side of the Mississippi, I got this side, and looking back at the Bible, pretty soon, even though it's a narrow road, it's going to get busy, and we're going to have to do what they did back then and understand who is a true widow indeed, who gets a priority cave of safety as we are going to wait on the redeeming fire of Christ to save us from the Gog Magog thing. In the meantime, people are going to need to have fresh water and stay warm, waiting on that cleansing fire. So it's not like, it's like, oh, it'll take care of itself. Well, kind of, but what? Because we got to have to decide who gets the welfare and who's faking it.
Yeah, as far as air quality, water quality, there's plenty of contaminants that severely affect should anyone ingest or breathe those contaminants, how it will not only affect you short term but even long term.
So just breathing,
also
simply breathing makes that type of an effect. That doesn't seem fair. I'm going to start at the back.
Fair. Those are just.
I know. So it was 2018. 16. This is that thing you sent me about DuPont. You said some of your friends.
It was mirrored 2 days ago on this channel here.
From France.
Yeah, as far as like I say, the last couple minutes, the narrating was silenced. I'm not certain what was actually said initially that
To deny your responsibility? Are you waiting that they all die?
So we will provide you with a statement for your piece.
Nothing else? No?
Like I said, we will provide you with a statement. Thanks so much.
You know, they get paid to say that. That guy that is talking that said, we'll provide you with a statement, he's on salary. Those guys.
Yeah, he represents the company. Yeah,
We'll come back to this if we have time. I don't know what your schedule is. Hey, here's a training film. I can't show a lot, but this is from the early 1970s anti-terrorist pilot training film. What this really is an anti-terrorist. In case you can't think of it, here's how you can attack planes in the United States. Step by step, follow this, and you will be able to bring down American planes. Yet, we called it a training film for our own people. RJ, I just want your quick opinion of a few seconds here. Look at 747. You used to go up to the top and look out the windows.
Well, how did they get through security with those weapons?
Well, this is the 70s. They didn't have to worry about box cutters yet.
Okay.
Lufthansa German Airlines has, based on social science research results.
What?
Might need to close caption.
Permanently locked doors to the cockpit. TV installations for observation of the passenger cabin by a crew member.
And watch out for people that sneak on machine guns.
Of an extended phase of relaxation and establishing of contacts. At the beginning, they'll still.
So this is a United States something. Is it the United States? They're speaking a foreign language. They're not habla in the English.
Unlike the crew of the hijacked aircraft, detached from personal threats, the command post can make decisions which will substantially contribute toward further.
I got a lot to show you what we could be studying here.
I hope you all enjoyed this video. I appreciate all your support.
Yeah, what's up with all these? I mean, it's like, I love that people are doing the Jared Booster thing and, you know, the word's getting out. This tower and dome thing is something that is just a example of it is Hidden Truth's new video. What's this one? Oh, I was looking up fake atomic bombs, leaf of life, everything we know. Yeah, this is a city in the desert that was selling water.
Extremely valuable commodity to trade in.
Yeah, I think I sent you.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Was a vital water supply hub for visiting ships, which were able.
Yeah, because it was weird because of where's that picture of how they stored the water? There it is.
That had perplexed archaeologists and historians until very recently.
People aren't going to believe it, but every one of these little divots here where my mouse is to lead the water down gently to the next step, like this one here. You know, this is crazy.
The peculiar site is situated on a rocky mountainside above an ancient city.
Look at this. Well, that would have been a good one.
During the 9th and 10th century.
That's the time of Christ in my world. Explain it better.
7,400 rectangular shapes for. What archaeologists and experts discovered was far more complex than they could have ever imagined. And the answer lay in...
RJ, these cavemen never cease to amaze me of what they're capable of when they put their mind to it.
Well, yeah, strength in numbers. Who knows?
Yeah,
how many?
strength in numbers and
individuals
intent.
were involved, in constructing, what was, the engineering and everything to
I
bring
have
it
to hit play, RJ.
fruition.
I feel like this visual is hypnotizing me. I think I see a third and fourth ventricle going inside a trilobite, but
Siraph's unique
I've
geography
really
and
smoked a lot of marijuana this morning.
climate. Siraph extends along a narrow coastal area bordered by the foothills of these mountains, which run parallel to the coastline. Here there are erratic rains during winter and autumn, resulting in flash floods during these months. There are dry rivers, known locally as wadis, which channel these flash floods from the highlands, but at the same
So you
time,
gotta
flooding the
you
port
gotta
town. This
save
paradox
all
of not
that
having enough
flash
having too
flood
much water
water.
plus
You
is not
can't
unique to
let
this
it
port town. It's been happening all over the world to this day. But what
get
makes
to
Siraph
waste.
stand out
If you
is how
want
they
to
managed
be
to use
a
this to their advantage by solving their flooding problems
world-renowned
and at the same time
water
creating
seller
abundant fresh
from the
water. And they did
desert,
this by
you
manipulating
got
the
to do
landscape
this.
to catch as much water as
I wonder if a
possible when it
corporation
rained
made them
and
do it.
during the flash floods. And the first step of achieving this was in the holes. The holes were used to recharge pools of water underground by harvesting rain and flash flood water and stopping it from sweeping down the mountain, causing erosion and flooding. But the holes were also discovered to be used for agriculture. Most noticeably, olive trees still exist on these slopes today. You can see the rectangles are clearly greener than the bare face of the mountain. Grapevines would have also been used for covering the recharge. It would have been very labor-intensive to have to constantly move water and goods up and down. This is where they used another ingenious water technology,
They're
locally
genius.
known as the kanat.
Cool.
These through man-made channels to wells and underground water reservoirs. These reservoirs are believed to have been built at the end of their natural watershed.
You know what pisses me off sometimes? Because I kind of go for the Jacob. I'm a big fan of Jacob in the Bible. As a matter of fact, I've looked in the Bible and I've tried to find where Jehovah, Yahweh, Lord Christ, it said one negative thing about Jacob, the heel grabber. You know, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. So anyway, you know, he dug a couple of wells, RJ, as those guys filled them with sand, tried to said, those are our wells now. I kind of get the idea now that Jacob's well and Abimelech's aqueducts and wells that he built, they were a bigger deal than we gave them credit for our 40 years when we were in the mainstream Lutheran Presbyterian churches. What do you think?
Well, the effort required is more significant than what you understand. Yeah, as far as completing, the task of
Right.
providing a well.
Let's face it, it's not only us. Everybody's looking back now going like, this is really hard to understand. How come we lived in wooden forts and they were doing that?
An example, right outside my door, right next to the corner of my barn, which is
And
technically
he lives in a mud flood building, everybody.
on the right of way. It's not part of my deeded property. It's, the edge of it, is, but it's 56 feet, hand dug, stone line, circular, which was fairly common.
Right. But we don't know how.
And the guy that I bought the building from, who was responsible for building this building that I reside in, it was called the town pump.
Wow. You don't own the whole town, though.
No, just I probably don't own anything. It's I have the deed for the property, but it's on loan or however they, I have to pay the county, the property taxes every year, or it no longer, remains in my name.
Hey, RJ, what can you call somebody that right off the bat? I can't stand her. She's got almost 2 million subscribers. The first time I saw her was last night, I gotta she every conspiracy. We're stupid. She's smart. I think she's one of those starts with a B and rhymes with bitch.
Yeah.
Sasquatch and Taylor's terminally online people what they think about conspiracy theories. And what I found is that for most people, conspiracy theories are a mainly harmless game they play. The game of
That's like that looks weird,
A
doesn't it?
harmless game that's being played.
Yeah.
what
Okay,
if,
well, that's her
what
opinion.
if
It's
Tupac and
supposed.
Elvis are
That'd be a big deal if Tupac and Elvis were still alive. You stupid rhymes with B.
still alive? And what if they hang out in the UFO at Area 51 with
What if you just go crazy? Wait. Oh,
Too late.
she's got some more things. She's gonna figure it all out.
Yeah, a lot of people
that are bad?
take the time to listen to nonsense. I
Right, and
understand
she's
that.
got a big following with because she
yeah.
puts a lot of effort into it. I'm sure she did this all by herself, or she's not a computer, or she's not enhanced, and everything in the background isn't subtly, here's the truth to everybody, but you don't believe it. You're being hypnotized by a ISIS type figure because if their eyes aren't open, RJ, it's not my responsibility.
They've even deliberately done bad things in secret, which might be the definition of a conspiracy. And that's true of whatever country you live in, but I'm going to focus on the US because the Saturnian order has commanded me to make America look bad. Easiest
So
job
are
in the
them
economy.
real physical props, or that's
It's
been
got 1 million subscribers.
digitally or whatever added on, like
We're gonna show a little bit.
Photoshop.
Yeah, what she's talking about.
Public that
I'm
she
talking about
was
what
selling,
she's
not
wearing, the
in fact
props of
being
Right.
sex trafficked inside of a cabinet. But conspiracy theorists in the chat were not relieved.
or
They
appears
thought
to
they
be
were
wearing.
that their investigation was
Um,
being debunked. One woman commented, "Put her ass back in the
It
cabinet."
looks like
A more convincing example of the argument from anomalies.
CGI or something.
The
Yeah.
2005 documentary that defined the 9/11 truther movement. Loose change is essentially just a big list of 9/11 anomalies, including some that actually are pretty, well, anomalous, like the discovery of a hijacker's passport at Ground Zero.
7 different black boxes, made from the most resilient materials known to man, were all completely destroyed beyond repair. Yet, a passport, made from a fragile material known as paper,
She's
managed to fly through
debunking
a
it. How's she doing? You think she's doing a good job of debunking it for you?
Well, I'm not paying enough attention. Yeah, or listen. Which way?
Well, how about now?
Jacobinical atheism. In 1798, Timothy Dwight, president of Yale University, said, quote, "Shall our sons become the disciples of Voltaire and the dragoons of Marat? Or our daughters the concubines of the Illuminati?" The concubines of the Illuminati. I, for one, welcome my new sex lord, Adam Weishaupt. When I heard he
That's not bad enough. How about this one?
pulling all the strings. In the most general sense, intentionalism is a way of explaining why things happen.
And we have a hard time making people think they're serious about this shit.
They haven't sworn allegiance to evil. They must be on the side of righteousness in everything they do. Sometimes people call this Manichaean thinking, in reference to the religion founded by the ancient prophet Mani, who taught that there is not one God, but two opposing powers, the Father of greatness versus the Prince of darkness.
I think we know how that works out.
Is all shaped like an airplane. Yes, all money is shaped like an airplane if you fold it in the shape of an airplane. What a coincidence.
Is that what she was talking about?
Celebrities making hand signs. Hidden in plain sight, Tom Hanks saluting the Baphomet and Forrest Gump. Sir, I would like to introduce you to the Congressional Medal of Honor. U.S. Congressional Medal of Honor, killing for Lucifer. Tom Hanks is another Satanist. And PETA. Which is simply embarrassing for everyone involved. Drop on a high-heeled boot and step on anyone's and or I'm just asking questions.
Interesting questions threaded together. Okay.
In one of Colin's famous old man rants, he talks about how America is owned by wealthy business interests.
I don't believe that.
When did this happen?
I don't know, but she doesn't buy it even a little bit.
Of the protocols of the elders of Zion. Convenient. These are some of the less offensive posts. I can't even show you most of them. While I was working on this video, I went to a European war museum that had a bunch of historic Nazi propaganda, and honestly, some of the stuff I was seeing on Twitter was actually worse. If you don't believe me...
Screenshot?
I don't know what is going on here.
...lives. It becomes the only thing they care about, the only thing they talk about.
I guess that's why my title is something about, like, you know, the only thing I care about is people stop looking at the Apocrypha books. They're stupid.
Most electrifying recent discovery comes from John White's own map from 1585. Using advanced imaging, researchers found a hidden fort symbol obscured by a patch located miles inland near the confluence of the Roanoke and Chowan rivers. Dubbed Site X. Could this have been the intended city of Raleigh? Excavations at Site X unearthed late 16th century English ceramics.
That one weird thing about, they always do find those clay pipes at these places, you know? Site X.
Tudor pottery, even parts of weapons and tools consistent with the colonists' factual finds. Tangible evidence of the Roanoke settlers far from the coast, deep inland. This discovery challenges the simple Croatoan theory.
That was propped up for, you know, oh, you know, they must have got eaten by the Indians or married them or whatever. And basically the plan was they were going to go and live in something they knew was already there, a star fort, and take over silently, quietly.
Did some go inland while others went to the coast?
Sneaky.
Did they split up? We are left with conflicting clues. Site
Yeah,
X,
they either had a, like, either had a wooden fort, or they, this is how they, the map was for all those years, and nobody ever decided, like, hey, let's look under the patch.
115 to 121 souls, including White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband, Ananias.
They had, that's Virginia Dare, and they're getting the baptizing going there. So that was a big deal to me for a while last night. This seemed like a big deal. He's happy. He's selling a book. He's got the Nephilim or clowns. And basically, they don't talk about that anymore because there's no proof for it. But he's a spokesman for a theology, and he wants to bring all the denominations together. This was last week.
I think I had my reservations in the past about whether or not we should do something like this. And it's kind of, would it cheapen the whole thing in a way? But I feel like with the way we're going, we're not going to make this like a circus show. You know, this is
too late. You got the clown book. You know, you wrote everybody that your book might as well be titled, "The Bible's Not Enough. We need the Book of Enoch to explain to us that the narrow road for the last 320 years that Satan has been loosed has been defending Sola Scriptura, and it's only since Rob Skiba and the Flat Earth PSYOP, and I believe in Flat Earth, but I believe it was put out. We never would have believed it. And then it was Rob Skiba, and then it was like, yeah, Flat Earth is cool. Then there was the clues, and they turned out to all be shills. And we're left with Rob Skiba, Zen Garcia going, well, it's obviously they thought that Jesus was coming back, but he wasn't because they haven't figured out the Nephilim blood yet. He's picked up that mantle. Now he's dropped the whole Nephilim thing, and he's the king of explaining why the Pentecostalists, everybody else has to come together under one new banner. And it's the banner of Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past, RJ. Any commente?
And they call it preterism?
He doesn't care what they call it.
It's not going to be like wild or extravagant or anything. This is going to be like a business conference in a way, but a bit more slick, a bit more exciting than dry business. But we're not making this like a Comic-Con convention where there'll be stalls all over the place and it'll be like a flea market or something. We're not going for that vibe either. It really is more of a networking discussion, philosophical meet and greet type.
Because he's trying to raise money so he can move to the United States.
Groups of denominations all coming together in agreement on something. And I couldn't help but think of the "I want you to get together" thing I used at the start of this channel, like I said, a decade ago. And how, in a way, it is finally coming to fruition in some small, tangible way. The Christianity is getting together on this, finally, and...
That's nice. That's good. Let's look up some Bible. Then I'm going to keep showing the things I'm studying. Because if you look up the Nephilim's demon clowns, that it's going to be that they were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. They were the Nephilim. They were on the earth in those days and also afterwards, which means, after the flood. So everybody is in sin that was on that boat because we're all related to them. Or there's Nephilim blood, and that's what you have to worry about. Not that you're a sinner. But without the book of Enoch or the other one verse in Tobit that talks about, there's an angel Raphael, and then they start naming them. When you look up the Nephilim, and you could click on this one, it's 3. You can click on this one, I think there's 5 verses that have it. There's only 3. It is only in Genesis 4. They also saw the Nephilim, and they were tall people, is really all that means. But that's not where they get their thing. They call them Gibborim. They were men of renown, the men of old, the Gibborim, because there you have, they were tall people who became the leaders. The ones that were bigger, stronger than anybody else. And, Nimrod was one of them. Oh, yes, Nimrod was a Gibborim. Like, he was a Gibborim. That Nimrod was a big, strong ruler, and he could have been bad. But every other time, because this is a lot more than the 3 Nephilim. And every other time, it's a good guy. So before the flood, you could have a bad Nephilim, Gibborim, but afterwards, all of the Nephilim and the Gibborim, the Nephilim were all good because, Goliath was a giant, but the mighty men that they list they were the good guys. Look, I'm just going to scroll down and say there's 159. And these are all based on the Gibborim. Let's just find, here's the Gibborayihu. I'm going to tell you, this isn't going to be a demon-possessed person. It's Nahum 2:3. Ooh, that is a scary part of Scripture. They're getting the big judgment. The shield of his mighty men is red. His soldiers are clothed in scarlet. His chariots come with flashing metal on the days he mustered them. So this is when God was cutting cookies on the earth with his chariots, and the hoofs with the pestilence. This was the judgment. And so he had some help that day when they were, oh my goodness, chariots raced madly through the streets. They rushed to and fro through the squares, lightning everything, freezing the flesh. They dart like lightning. He remembers his offers, sirs. They stumble as they go. They hasten to the wall. Siege towers set up. River gates are open. The palace melts away. His slave girls run off moaning, cooing like doves. Plunder the silver, plunder the gold. No end to the treasure. Desolate, desolation and ruin. That's the bad part. Anyway, you want to keep going? I looked up
Well,
this.
yeah, I think what you're implying, flat out saying that, that race of people not sharing any genetics with Adam and Eve is where I'm thinking you're, implying between Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2, right?
Well, that's part of it. That's not what I was trying to imply, but I completely agree with that. That there was a creation of the Elohim had a creation of a race that they could rule over, and we know that. We don't know how many beginnings there were. We know that in this beginning, sin already existed because sin started in heaven. 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. And the sin showed up in the form of physicality in a garden where those trees have been watered. And water was already here because this beginning, what was it? Divided water from water, and now we got a blister in the sun or something.
Yeah, you certainly, the beginning of recording time in the firmament.
With the big clock in the sky.
Yeah, the wheel in the sky go round and round, yeah.
And then there's this other eye in the sky that so far I haven't found any good thing to
So
say
as far
about.
as a reset, judgment, the water, then covering the earth in the
And
spirit.
anything water touches, there's always an exclusion zone, and that leaves something, a trace of that water that is part of that memory that Lord is using to store every word, thought, and deed that every one of us has. Everybody's going to know it. There's what eternity's for.
Well, as far as anything in its purest form, well, including water, then, when the spirit is hovering over the face of the deep or whatever.
Yeah, the voided deep.
The water then at that time, and then even when the windows are open in the firmament during Noah's flood, when does water begin to get contaminated like some of the stuff more recent, but you probably can go back, contaminating water was that's like a military type, assignment for the, salting their ground, doing stuff that
putting hairs in their wheat.
Like what you were showing in that one video, it looks like there isn't, little to any soil. They said, there's olive trees growing. Maybe it doesn't really need, all it needs is water. Again, as far as the nutrients from the soil, how that all
Right.
works with
That's
the
why
health
we
of the
want to keep
plant.
the soil good, because the ha-adam, we-adam, male human created from the dust that had to have life breathed into him, and then a woman taken out of his side because it's not good for him to be alone. There we go. You know, that's still in play, but we got to run back. We're going to come back to this, RJ, because there's so much in the. I was going to look up this word because I saw it in an ad of something that they did on YouTube of like, our new pages are better than the other ones. And I'm surprised. I thought I had a picture of that. Did I show all the pictures? I guess I did, but I thought I had one that was exclusively about that, but I'm not seeing it. But this word was an advertisement used by Wikipedia, so I looked it up, and it was a sea urchin fossil, and I went, huh, okay. It's not a fossil, you know, it's something. But was, oh yeah, now it's coming back. I was looking up the years of the fossil. So this was the first fossil ever found. No idea when I looked it up who found it. This is all it said. First fossil ever found, because I mean, I was looking. This is what I found. That's Site X. That's going back to something else. Here's that word. I looked it up, and they're like, well, what is it? Who discovered it? And the computer just spit out, it's an extinct genus of sea urchins. And not too much, you know. Wikipedia, mind that. Because they didn't show me anything on it here, just this one. I was looking for, when did they get these? Well, by 1796, they only found 3 that year, because they already had them pretty much figured out, you know. 1804 is going down again, only 2 in 1809. 1 getting bigger, jumping up there in 1825, leading up to, you know, Darwin's thing. At 1835, Darwin's getting ready to go on his trip, I think in 1848.
If you're able to trust.
Yeah, all of this fake shit.
Yeah.
It's all fake, you know. Oh, look what we found in 1840. Everything that later on we built our, you know.
And then you get into the monkey trials and all
right. It's not only ourselves, it's the people that they fooled, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, possibly, some of us.
Yeah, and who knows how much attention they were paying.
By 1850, it's still relatively modest compared to what you'll see. Here's 10 pages out of 10. Let me do a few more of these.
And that's the whole point. You know, you have to spend some time whatever rabbit hole before you it's, you know, you're just wasting time basically. But you need to at least put in that much to recognize, identify.
So the people that were having the big love affair with Darwinism, white power, and everything else, they were getting a nonstop supply in their news as they lived every day, new discoveries proving what those guys in quotes, intend to shove down their throats, our children's throats, introduce the globe later, NASA. And you can see that the hits just keep coming. Every year, there's 20 more, 35 more new. You can't argue with the science of let's rub your skull and prove you're white.
Yeah, in the late 50s, early, them shows like, what was it, Little House on the Prairie, or where they're telling the people in that episode, how the earth, those Bible believers saying, the earth is stationary and whatever. No, there's a solar system, and it makes them look, awkwardly comical.
Yeah, this is what they believed when they were stupid farmers back in the,
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus. They thought they're going to fall off.
What
the
rock
flat
have you
Earth.
been hiding under?
Yeah, we don't see a lot of that when we do the history researching of like, here's a quote where Christopher Columbus said, "Oh
television.
my goodness, so we don't want to fall off of the flat Earth." So wait, that's Elmer Fudd or something like that. You're driving in your car, you turn on the radio. That was Bruce Springsteen doing an imitation of Elmer Fudd by Paco. You're welcome. Anyway, so I had to get specific. Why no Site X Roanoke information in Wikipedia? Because they will not give you shit in Wikipedia about Site X. And basically, they just go, the Roanoke colony was an attempt to do it. They're just not going to get into it. Their basic answer was blank me. So Camera Atlas Obscura has a whole, it's out there. Just Wikipedia, you're not going to get it. It was under a patch. The map had a large blue X star fort underneath it with another, inner star fort. And so now they realize that, this is where the 115 of them went. It was always planned that they were going to go there and break off Site X. Anyway, documentary and cartographic evidence, most notably Verdina Parr's map, attests to Sir Walter Raleigh's Roanoke colonists having a strong interest in the western Alberme Sound, where I showed the Site X. So this is all proved as of, there's no doubt. And that's a pretty famous college there in Durham, North Carolina. That, what are they, the Tar Heels? They're famous. They're probably winning that basketball tournament. They'll probably beat that team that got to the finals that was so famous. A team from North Carolina is going to kick their ass. Or they're a team from North Carolina. Anyway, they did it.
Well, yeah. Today it's Florida meeting Houston.
Oh, okay. So there goes my theory on that. Usually North Carolina is going to be involved in this Duke, North Carolina rivalry.
That'll be this evening.
Okay. I'll probably miss it. But they found it. So here's their evidence. They just got Site X nailed down. But in the end, the textbooks will have to catch up. Here's some alternative interpretations. Explanations of the early colonial component as the result of the pre-Bats undocumented trade or perhaps indirect trade with Indians. Of course they did. And the Indians lived in star forts too, because, hey, look what we found. Oh, yeah, glass beads. Oh, sheet copper. Small clay pipes. Metal buttons. It's always going to be there. I looked up this one here, Aeroflight, because this is one of that combination where they killed the 266 people in that Gander. And Aero is one of those CIA-based things. So this was interesting.
1329 heads across the tarmac for some practice runs of touch and go landings. This would be her final flight. The Lockheed constellations were based in Argentia, Newfoundland, and Keflavik, Iceland. 329 was in Keflavik just weeks prior to her demise. The constellation was designed as an airborne early warning system equipped with the latest in radar detection. The video you are now viewing was taken in Argentia, Newfoundland, and brings some insight into the day-to-day. Crew was not needed, usually 20 crew members. On this day, there was only 7 aboard. The headline for the Newfoundland Daily newspaper dated July 31st, 1963 read, "Plane nosedives, burns, crew scrambles to safety." 7 crew members of a United States Navy Super Constellation clambered to safety within moments before the aircraft burst into flames, crashing at the end of the runway at the International Airport.
So this plane was a known danger or what?
Airways, an avid gander historian, told me about this incident, and whereas he produced 2 pictures and a short story of Jim Dempsey, the person who was working out of the ILS shack at the time. My father reiterated that Jim had told him that he had just put his coffee on for his lunch when he was called away for some work-related reason. Before doing so, he placed the coffee.
Let me see what this in. Here is this flight. Now, allegedly, was there 7 or were there 8 crew members on board? See, because I was looking for this air flight disaster that was leaving Cairo, Egypt to their home base in Fort Campbell. This was in 1985. I wonder how many of these guys were one of those Green Berets, Delta Force, super badass killers. Well, let's see, 12 of them were members of the 101st. But 266, it blew up. Just blew up. Mysterious mortar shells were found in the wreckage. They don't know how it got there. Never hear about this one too much. Anyway, we'll get back to that.
American art was formed to help save works of art in buildings set to be demolished. The sculptures alone were valued at around $150,000 and were in incredibly high demand. Many large organizations put in requests for the sculptures, including but not limited to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Columbia University. Others instead suggested paying respect to their sculptor,
Well,
Carl
who
Ritter,
is
by
this
moving
guy?
the primarily built in the heart of the city near pre-established centers of commerce. This provided accessibility while it was decently far away from the slums and manufacturing districts. So now that we've laid the groundwork for the St. Paul Tower, let's quickly learn about the man behind the marvel.
Yeah, part of this ended up in Indianapolis under really suspicious, circumstances, I think.
Many large organizations put in requests for the sculptures, including but not
More
limited to the Massachusetts
suspicion.
Institute of
Yeah, including these guys, which basically, Indianapolis at this time was the new hub of the KKK. So this thing had some problems before. Damaged 12 houses. Japan wrecking.
Well, we're moving pretty close to the 60 level here.
This is a guy that flew drugs for the Contras. He ended up testifying in court. The Ice Maiden was found with,
I'm gonna have to cut out and get on with my day, but
all right, RJ, I really appreciate it. I'm going to close out these tabs, and I've got class in less than an hour too. So, but I do want to take a few more minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, have a safe week. Talk to you soon.
Okay,
Later.
love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
And this, this is how you use a bridle for your horse. If you're a caveman, This is from the Bible times, everyone. You can argue about it and think it's not important about what God you serve. What God did they serve? They're dinosaur mummies. We looked at all of the dates, and so a dinosaur mummy is basically soft flesh. Looks like a chicken. And yet it turned out they go, no, where we found it, it has to be a dinosaur. And it confirmed a dinosaur because they could fake Piltdown Man. This is all insanity. Everything's crazy except the flat earth nation golden age past. So I saw in this one 1958 Committee to Preserve Your History, groundbreaking American art. It all started in 1958, remarkable year that it was. It was the time of transition. You know, Eisenhower established NASA, DARPA, Operation Paperclip. The women's rights movement was kicking right in so we could have what we have today, a kickback against their obvious decadent agenda that they rubbed in our face, all starting in 1958. But, you know, during the late to 1950s, when RJ and I were young, art was changing, man. And some people fought back, some people didn't. But the ones that basically fought back were, you know, you don't understand art. So I guess these are some famous people that founded that 1958 Committee on Art. Don't know anything about them. Let's see, they came up with, this is the monument they built. This was unveiled in 1886. Monument to the Discoverers. Monument to the Restorers. That's what it is. This is an engraving from the Monument of the Restorers in Lisbon, Portugal, which really, there's no other pictures of Portugal, just a few pictures of Lisbon. That's what somebody was telling me. And this is, I guess, another picture of it. Did we see them all? The Central Commission was established in 1640, jumped to 1861 as a reaction to Iberian, but yeah, Portugal. You know those lines on a map, Portillion lines? That stands for Portugal. This could have been Queen Isabella. What else do they know about Portugal? Was it besides Queen Jezebella and them sending out with Spain, Columbus, the age of discovery? Well, quick look at Lisbon. They want to keep this town hopping. Very mysterious. We've got some big cannons. If you can tell how thick those are, cast of what? That's a Starford, baby. Oh, ouch! Hey, look what we found. And 9 years later, they put, we're the restorers. Let's build ourselves let's relabel this as a statue to us. Sure, why not? Let's see that the next biggest town. Wonder if it probably has some nice things in it. Yeah. There's just not a lot of pictures of it when it was old, I guess. That's what that one video was saying. Let's see what else we got. As we are all running out of time. Where's this place at? That's probably a body part. Probably a body part. Okay, so we looked at that, but this is right in that timing wheelhouse. Huh. Something's going on in our economy. This is, I think, one of the buildings, maybe the building that they looked at. This is my newspaper. I wanted to show RJ this, that look, Adams State is saying it won a military-friendly designation. They haven't been too helpful to me, have they? Again, what is a pike? I have to write something about Zebulon Pike. Well, there's a piker is somebody that is an unreliable person. There's a Pike Creek. There's a Pike Expedition. Pike pole for pulling, reaching, and holding really a pike potato. A pike can be a turnpike. There's people named Pike. A pike is a cipher, a stream, a programming language, a cheerleading jump, a kick for dancing, a move in the gymnastics or diving. Pike is just everywhere, isn't it? Pike, 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 pike. And a piker refers to a type of person like a miser, a pikery. A piker may refer to pikery. Thanks, Wikipedia. You're funny. You're funny. It's a good one. And again, this is just people in the other countries know that Dow DuPont, they've joined forces and they're out to poison us slowly in the air, in the soil, so that people don't want to do the natural things in life, like get married and have a family and be happy at night, and maybe every couple of weekends, get together and play some drums around the fire with your friends, but not be in the cities where they're cooking and eating each other because they laughed and they didn't believe in Satan or the Bible, and that he's trying to unite the nations and blame the people who don't want to have anything to do with their history that leads to, wow, we've got this new science that's going to save everybody, and if you don't do it, we'll kill you. And you want to fight those people? It's best to run, live to live another day, not live to fight another day. How about the next day you live to live another day? How about we find some water, some place to stay warm, away from where they want to kill you? That's my message. That's RJ's message. That's the message of what my first channel was, Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past, the channel that brought you Flat Earth Nation, the Golden Age Past, and the Stones Crying Out. And then when it was banned because science didn't like my opinion of ivermectin and other things and was suspicious about what they admit now. Maybe we didn't know everything about the Pfizer thing. And here we are. I had to start a new channel. I called it Mud Flood Was Armageddon because it was. And then there was the 1,000-year reign. And now you got the orphan trained thing and you're wondering what's going on. Well, your head's spinning. It's time to understand that your eyes are open. You hear it with your ears. It's all about Jesus or not. Me and my friends aren't going to tell you anything else because we know we're called, chosen, faithful to having your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakme. Adios, amigo. Hasta la vista.